during the meeting, I guess. We have roll call, Carl Evans.
Here.
And Steve Whitman.
Here.
I'm going to seat you as an alternate tonight. Or seat you as a voting member.
Okay.
And the three of us shall constitute a quorum under our new new procedures defining a quorum as 3 for our board. Let me start by reading our disclaimer. In accordance with Governor Sununu's Emergency Order Number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Information and connection links to the meeting are provided on the Town of Plymouth's website at www.plymouth-nh.org. The first item on the agenda is review of the minutes from September 3rd. Does Steve and Carl, do you both have copies?
Yes.
Okay. Did I miss any board members? Steve, Carl?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. All right. I would entertain a motion if someone feels so inclined.
I move we accept the minutes from the 9/3 meeting. As
Thank you.
printed.
All right.
I'll second.
Thank you, Steve. Is there any discussion of the motion that has been moved and seconded? No. Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes as written, Carl?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And Phil, aye. So the minutes are approved as written. Was there any contact with a representative from the first conceptual consultation?
Mr. Carter.
Carter?
No, I could not get through.
Okay. Is anyone online representing Mr. Carter? If so, please raise your hand or speak up. All right. If not, we are going to push that back to later in the agenda. If Mr. Carter calls in, we can take that up later. The second item on the agenda is a non-binding site plan review of Harbor Homes, 108 Boulder Point Drive. Is there a representative from the applicant who'd like to speak to this?
This is Henry Oach, Chief of Operations for Harbor Care.
Hi, Henry. How are you?
Good evening, everybody. Good.
Would you like to kind of talk us through the proposal as you see it?
Yes, of course. The proposal is for the property located at 108 Boulder Point Drive. This is a veterans housing facility. Project is a fairly new construction project. It was completed last year after a couple of years of planning and construction. The facility supports a total of 30 military veterans who were either homeless or at risk of being homeless, and supportive services are provided by the VA at White River Junction. The facility was intended to provide a welcoming and supportive community to our military veterans, and as a result of the pandemic, some of those supportive services were peeled back from the VA in Washington D.C. To protect their staff. So programming was extremely limited and continues to be limited at this point. The VA is not allowed to go into the facility and confined offices to meet with the veterans to provide social services and additional counseling. So in response to that, we are proposing the construction of 2 outdoor pavilions, approximately 20 feet by 40 feet. One pavilion will be an all-season pavilion. It will be heated and will be cooled for the summer, so it's fully enclosed. The other pavilion will be a 2 to 3 season unit. It is not enclosed, and the intent of these 2 pavilions is to provide a meeting space for not only the residents but also the VA and other social service providers.
Let's see.
So at this point, we are in the process of soliciting bids for the project, and of course, the project is contingent on approval from this board. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Steve or Carl, do you have any questions for the applicant at this time?
No, I have none.
I have none. I appreciate the additional context. And I remember, I heard you talking before the meeting with Brian. I remember the original site plan. And this seems to be in keeping with the site plan and seems to be addressing a need we never could have anticipated.
Yep. Do you have any questions for the board at this time, or have you been able to get enough feedback from our planning department to answer all of your questions about the process?
So we have been fortunate to engage with local architects and local builders who are very familiar with the requirements, the Plymouth requirements.
Right.
As I noted earlier, the project is currently up to bid, and we anticipate the bidding will conclude within the next week or so.
Okay. And do we have sufficient? Did we get the labels to notice abutters for the scheduled hearing at this point?
For October 1st.
For October 1st? Okay. So I don't have any questions for you. It doesn't seem that the other members of the board have any questions for you. I'd like to thank you for your time. If you have any other questions for us, this would be a great time. If not, we may move on the agenda to the next conceptual this evening.
No questions. Thank you very much, and thank you for your support of the project. And I look forward to hearing from you on October 1st. Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you as well.
Thank you, Henry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there now a representative from Mr. Carter?
Yeah, he has, he's the second one from the bottom.
That's
Or the bottom?
Ted. The bottom one is,
Well,
Second from the bottom.
I was thinking we might go back to the first non-biting of Carter,
Mr. Carter.
if he's available.
That's his, okay, that's his phone.
Yeah. Is Mr. Carter available?
I think he's, Mr. Carter, you need to unmute. Well, maybe go on and I'll.
All right.
see.
All right. So we have conceptual discussion, non-binding site plan review is for Star King Universalist Fellowship at 101 Fairgrounds Road. My understanding is that Ted Van Zant of New England Commercial Solar Services will be representing Star King to install a solar photovoltaic energy system on a 2.94 acre parcel in the agricultural zone. Mr. Van Zandt, would you like to discuss the project with us?
Sure. And I can screen share the site plan, or you can if you like, but I'll give a quick summary. The Star King Fellowship wants to install a solar array that will provide just about 100% of the electricity that they use during the year. And also at the same time, hopefully convert over to electric heat so that the solar provides 100% of the energy and makes it a net zero facility. So it's a pretty exciting project. The solar itself is not that exciting. It's it's going to be a ground-mounted solar array, similar to what you see at the Common Man at the by the ice cream shop there. Ground-mounted panels.
That's why I can't. They got me on hold.
Excuse us. Go ahead, Mr. Van Zandt.
There we go.
Hello.
Hi, Mr. Carter. We couldn't hear you when we were at your consultation earlier in the agenda, and we moved on to another conceptual. We'll be with you in a few moments after we finish the conceptual consultation we're in with Mr. Van Zandt of Star King, representing Star King.
Okay, so as you can see on the site plan, we're gonna have to remove some trees, partially just to keep it 30 feet off the road per the 30-foot setback, and partially to ensure that there's no shading from the trees on the array. But I consider the amount of trees to be removed pretty minimal. There will be at least 30 feet from the property line that's shown in yellow, and then also, as I said, 30 feet setback from the road. As you can see from the smaller image at the top, the electrical lines will be trenched underground from the proposed solar array over to the building and will interconnect with the Star King building. And that's the pretty basic summary. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Looks fairly straightforward to me. Carl or Steve, do you have any questions for Mr. Van Zandt?
No, this sounds like an excellent idea, moving toward a net zero. That's going to be good for everybody.
I have no questions either. I was able to look through the packet, and as Ted already said, it's not an enormous solar array, so it seems pretty straightforward, and all the setbacks being shown on the drawing is really helpful.
Yeah.
I agree. It looks, I think this will be, I look forward to the hearing, I guess.
It's right up your alley, isn't it?
Well, not so much mine specifically, but I think it'll be a great thing for Star King too. So, do you have any questions for the board at this time, Mr. Van Zandt?
No, I guess the next meeting is going to be, I didn't write it down, but it's in a couple weeks. Is that right, to vote on this?
Yeah, we anticipate this will be on the agenda for the October 1st meeting.
Great. Well, thank you all for taking the time to listen, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions in between now and October 1st.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. That was our second site plan non-binding review. moving back to, we have another application or a proposed commercial development on Tenny Mountain Highway with the applicant is Joseph D. Carter. Are you with us, Mr. Carter?
He's there.
All right, let's
Can
give
you
Carter-
hear me?
We can hear
Yes.
you.
Can you hear,
We can.
can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, I was on hold. I was on the meeting 5 minutes before the meeting, but for some reason I couldn't talk.
Oh, sorry. Well, we're
That's
glad you're with
okay.
us now.
Hello?
We had a brief discussion earlier on a slightly different proposal, and it sounds like this has changed substantially, and we are now in a non-binding discussion for your development. Would you like to talk us through the proposal? I believe we have your application available that's online.
Okay. Do you want me to read it, or do you want to just go on and explain what I'm attempting to do?
Would you like me to read your letter first, and then you can go into detail beyond that?
Yes, go ahead. I would like that very much.
All right. So we have a letter from Mr. Carter to the planning department. In response to your email, I will be seeking a subdivision so as to separate the 8 townhouse ownerships from the camping lots. The parcel info I received from the surveyor. The parcel, and thank you for alerting me for the errors. Also, I'm submitting a non-binding application as previously discussed with Mr. Murphy. I should have noted this on my application. Thanks again. I have a couple of color photographs taken 8/20/20 of a boat ramp that was part of a 31 lot subdivision I designed and built on Bow Lake in Stratford, New Hampshire, 2000. I'm proposing the canoe and kayak ramp to be identical, only it will be only half the width, 10 feet. The concrete logs are 10 feet long, 2 feet wide, and are interlocked by steel connection so as to be flexible to frost. They are manufactured by Gilbert Block of Laconia, used by Fish and Game. Sorry, so that was a communication. Why don't you talk us through the program, through your proposal, Mr. Carter?
Okay, well, I'll go on with, I wish to thank all the members and the director for the site review and the valuable input that prompted me to redesign the entire site. The new design is in compliance with the sensitivity, existing topography, and floodplain situation. The most significant change is the golf driving range, which is now obsolete and is dedicated to agriculture. The 19 camping sites that were designed on the hill, the highest point, is now located in the rear forested area along the river. This location is out of sight, wooded, and adjacent to the proposed riverwalk and conforms to the existing topography. It will also allow easy access to the river for canoes, kayaks, and wading. The riverwalk easement is gated and is relocated to conform to the topography with close access to the Riverwalk along with 19 parking spaces. Lastly, the front lot will be utilized for only 4 townhouse buildings with 2 levels of occupancy. They are built into the hillside with level number 1 including a garage under 1 foot and above the FEMA 100-year flood elevation of 489. This roadway is also above the FEMA flood level. The only fill above the flood elevation is the 3-to-1 slope on the east side of the roadway, which is very minimal. The second level is at the top of the hill and has parking for 2 units and guest and handicap. It also has access to the recreation area on the level through a covered stairway between the buildings. And that's about all I could say without getting into each. There's 4 sheets to the plan, and if you wanted me, I can go through each one or basically answer any questions you might have. And if you want me to explain sheet 1, which is the subdivision, so that the condos could be separated from the 19 campsites, which are way in the rear.
Okay.
That's basically, and it shows you wanted to see edge of the woodland that exists when you made your last site walk, which is outlined on it with the little curly cues on the upper left corner where on lot number 1, which was the condos, and then along, it looks like a finger going way into the back lot. That's the woodland sign. That's where the existing woods are. And that also shows what would probably be considered a lot till flag lot till the road is built all the way into the rear for the camping lots. And sheet 2 shows the lot 1 in a large scale, 30 scale, which is much larger than what we had on the 50 scale. Shows the 4 buildings with the parking and the access road and the return road with the topography and the anything that would be pertinent at this point. And you also show the 4,000 square feet of leaching field, and it shows the environmentally sensitive zone, which you asked for, 500 feet from the river, which is in the lower right corner near the bottom of the bottom right. See that line crossing like a triangle right at the bottom? It says environmentally sensitive zone, 500 feet from the river. And it also shows the FEMA 100-year flood level, which is 489, which is on the edge of the road, Lookout Drive, which is in front of the condominiums. And it has the topography existing, and I put the proposed road elevations in at every 100 feet, every 50 feet, excuse me. And the entrance road is right in the center of the existing access that they had since 1950, which is just a little bit across from the Yeaton Road and up to the west, about 75 feet. And page 3 is the campsites, and probably point out at this point that we have so much pervious area because of the stone, all the pea stone road and the pea stone areas for parking in the for the camper, that this will increase the capacity of the flood if you have a flood, which is 849. And basically just shows the road going around a loop with each area outlined for the parking for their vehicle and their parking for their camp, whether it's a trailer or a motorhome or whatever it would be. And that again shows the existing line of the trees where you walk when you were at the last site visit. And up in the upper right corner is which is way at the end of the property, there's that walkway and the boat ramp that I sent you a picture of that I built in 1980. And that's about it, I guess. If I can answer any questions, I'd be glad to.
Looks like the 4th sheet is road grades.
Oh, the 4th sheet, I forgot, excuse me. The 4th sheet are the preliminary profiles. And if you look, about 90% of it is just following the contours of the land that's there. There's very little change. This is a big change from what I had submitted before. When we were going to do the camping lots up on the hill, it necessitated moving a lot of fill. This will entail just removing just about loam in most places. There's a couple of places where there's 2 or 3 foot cut, but they're very short and very small. I've tried to follow the contours as much as possible, and all of these roads will be pervious. So I guess that's about all I could say for it now, unless you have some particular questions.
I have a question. I don't know if you can hear me or not. This is Bonnie.
Yeah. Okay.
Here.
I was. What is this?
Go ahead.
Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay. Initially, when you talked about having the campers there, it was for seniors. Now, is this condominium thing going to be for seniors or anybody, or what's the deal with that one?
No, it's seniors, and it says that in the title, I believe. I'll go back to that page.
Well, I don't have it in front of me. I'm at home on my phone, and I didn't see it. So, okay, all for seniors. And what is there? 8 units in that condominium?
There's four 4 buildings, 8 condos. Yeah, there's 2 to a building. Yeah, there's one on the
Oh,
lower
okay.
level and one on the upper level. They're over each other.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
That was just
I
what
hope that answers
I'm a senior, so I thought I'd find out just where I can go.
Yeah, you can come. Be glad to have you.
Okay.
I'm a senior too,
right.
by a lot more than you.
Well, okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Nope. That was the 2 I come up with.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for the board, Mr. Carter?
No, I just hope that I'm trying to please the board as much as I can. I think with that site visit, I found out a lot that I didn't realize, and I really rethought this as much as I could. And I think this is the best use you can find for it. The camping sites are out of sight, out of mind back there, and they're in the woods. And I think I probably answered the problem that you thought about. Someone mentioned about the Riverwalk and the parking area for them, which is in a much better area. There's no work to do other than to gate it off, I suppose. And I'll cut the Riverwalk path through there. I don't expect to take down any big trees to do it. It might wander a little bit here and there, but I'd like to see the Riverwalk. I thought it was an excellent idea. And Brian Murphy started me on it in the beginning, and I thought it was great. And I still think it is. I hope it goes eventually all the way to the McDonald's. But other than that, I don't have a lot to offer. That I think I've tried to conform to the topography and the sensitivity of the whole area, and I've stayed out of it with the condo area. I've stayed out of there, out of the wetlands completely. Not the wetlands, the flood zone, which is a 100-year flood. The only evidence I've seen of flooding in there is down right in that lower corner where the boat ramp is, and there is some sediment at around elevation 480, a little bit of sediment and silt that are there. But just in that lower corner where you see all the elevations on the first sheet, that's where the boat ramp is going to be. That shows evidence of flooding. But I don't think you see water up to 489. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I haven't seen it yet in about 6 years. And I've only been up there in 6 years. Well, actually 8 years, and I've never seen that flooded. So I guess if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Steve, you have a question.
I have just a couple. I wanted to thank the applicant for taking the time to consider this redesign. A really nice surprise. I'm looking on the site plan on Google Drive. I'm just trying to see where the environmentally sensitive zone line is. I know it was mentioned, but I don't see it.
Yep. Yeah, did you find it all right on the plan?
No, can you help me?
Oh, yeah. It's in the bottom right corner of the property. If you look at the bottom, right near the title, you'll see a line crossing at an angle in about 4 inches on the right against the land of Millbrook LLC, and about 3 or 4 inches down along the road.
All right. So, Brian, does that mean that this whole site is within the environmentally sensitive zone?
Correct.
And what's our interpretation of that based on the proposed use?
Oh, there it is.
There's no gravel mining, which is forbidden outright. He's honored, I believe, the 75-foot no-build setback. Any materials that are, they have to stay on the property. So by designing to the contours, he'll be able to fill in with the soils that are there. And, you know, he's not increasing flood level, just, you know, because anything he pulls out is staying on the property. So it's not going to increase it downstream. It looks pretty good from a floodplain development perspective, especially, you know, you have the camping area, which is in the floodway, but it's, you know, it can be washed on a regular basis and to no harm. And the condominiums, as Mr. Carter said, are built 1 foot above the 489, which is the flood level for that area. So it appears to be compliant with the floodplain regulations and with the environmentally sensitive zone subsection of 710.
Thank you, Brian. That's super helpful. And it addressed my laziness for not reading up on it. I guess my only other comment for the applicant would be, and I guess it's also a question for Brian, is it worthy of considering lining up the entrance road with Yetton Road so they're across from each other? Or would that be a hardship? Is the slope really different?
Is that for me to answer or for Brian?
You
It's for
first,
either
Joe.
of you. It's just a suggestion or a question, I guess.
If you want me to answer it, it would be a very definite hardship to the land because
Okay.
it drops off very fast, and I would require a lot of fill. And
All right.
it would put us in a real low area. That's probably a little bit of wetland in the very right corner at the bottom. There's wetland, and there's also a drain that comes across and runs down. There's a slope right down through to the brook, actually.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Carter. That really helped clarify. I couldn't tell. And it doesn't seem like you're going to have a really high volume of traffic, but I just wanted to raise it now so we didn't ask the question in October.
Yeah.
Yeah. My next step, if this looks approximately like something you would approve, I would go to the state, and I've been there already, and that was an entrance all the way back in 1950. So I am using that entrance, and it's not that far removed, actually. It's about the center to center from road to road is probably the most about 45, 50 feet.
I know the DOT
from Yaton Road over, because 1 inch is 30 feet on the plan there. Yeah.
I know DOT prefers, perpendicular alignments, but like Mr. Carter said, this is a long existing driveway cut from DOT. The only problem that I could possibly see, and it's not our concern, it does lie with DOT, that with the improvement, they have metrics for the amount of traffic. And I'm just wondering if they will agree with Mr. Carter that, this is the correct location for the widened apron. But certainly it works for us. And fortunately, when you get to that side of Tenny Mountain Highway, the traffic is pretty well metered at that point. We have the choke points down in the more occupied areas. But when you get out here, I mean, you can make a left turn from Yetton Road, which you can't from Smith Bridge. So, there is a difference in the type of traffic at that point. They're much more spread out.
Carl, do you have any questions for Mr. Carter?
No, just wondering, the choke points right now are closer into town, into the business area of Tenny Mountain. But if that's developed, that could actually become a problem. There might have to be some sort of change in how the roads are set up if that whole area becomes more developed as some of the plans suggest. But that's a problem, I think, that could be addressed down the road rather than right now.
This is true. Plus, they do look at the types of businesses that the driveway serves, like I said. So their formula for the Market Basket liquor store area is going to be considerably different than for a camping area with a very small residential footprint.
Yeah, there's that shopping center area with some of the businesses in there, like Spectrum, and there's a couple empty spaces, particularly that one large independent building that looks like somebody at some point may come in and put a restaurant in there. That could certainly increase traffic flow through Yetton Road.
True. So I have a question, and this might be for Brian more than Mr. Carter, but do we have any prohibition against creating lots without frontage in Plymouth? I believe there's a state prohibition, isn't there?
Yeah, but this is served by a
Shared
road.
driveway.
Yeah, and with rights of way, I mean, there are plenty of trapped areas. Maybe that would just be a matter of subdividing along the road instead of
Right. So I guess my question is, do we have I'm not up to speed on our own zoning. Do we require a street plat or a road be built to any specific standards if there's going to be a backlot created that's served by that road, or are we willing to accept this as a shared driveway or right of way?
I think for the purposes that we have here, you're looking at a temporary or a part-time use down at the water's edge, full-time occupation at the condo area.
Right.
If we could share the road, if it's a frontage factor, it just might be a matter of being careful with the subdivision line. It has adequate frontage that meets all the metrics, and it has the area. But I would have to look a little deeper into that.
Yeah. What I'm concerned about is lot 2, which is going to be the camping area, not having frontage on Tenny Mountain Highway and being served. And there's potential that could have some heavy traffic.
I will look into that tomorrow and find out for sure.
Well,
I didn't bring any of my books with me.
Being that this is a conceptual, I'm just trying to raise any things that may be an issue down the road, and that that may be something that we can help Mr. Carter.
We'll have that answered when he presents it.
The
Absolutely.
I would just second that. I was having the same kind of question, Phil, and wondering if lot number 3, the agricultural land, could just stay attached, knowing that the campground use could change and another use could come in years later.
Yeah, can I interrupt if I may? I had planned to do that. I had shown, as I would like to do the camping lots first so they'd be ready in the spring. And I had considered that the roadway, the 50-foot frontage would have been the flag lot to the rear until I build the road, which would be this fall and finish up early spring, hopefully, or finish it this fall. And then it would have plenty of frontage on its road by itself. It had more than the minimum frontage. It'd have all that roadway.
Okay. So lot 2 is actually, there's no boundary line. It's lot 2 actually extends all the way to Tenny Mountain Highway with 50 feet of frontage. Okay.
Right, it had 230 feet of frontage on the road. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I can just take that line out across the back. I just wanted to show it, and where ultimately I could separate it. I didn't want to have the condominiums connected to the back lot, the camping lots. I wanted it separate. And I can attach it right there where we show the lot number 3. Just take out lot number 3 and leave that line out, and it'll have frontage 230 feet on the highway. And the other lot has 444.13, the condo lot. So it'd just be the 2 lots.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that answers the question. And as far as the entrance, I think the DOT will have a lot of input as to what the entrance would be and how it would be.
That can be a condition. I mean, receiving DOT approval for the
absolutely.
roadway can be
That's one of those
approval.
boilerplate.
Right. Bonnie, if you're, I apologize. I didn't realize you were on the call earlier when we voted on the minute. Do you have any questions for the applicant? Or for Mr.
No,
Carter?
I asked what I wanted to ask. I don't have any further questions, but thank you, Phil.
Okay, thank you, Bonnie. If there's nothing, Carl or Steve, do you have any other questions at this point for Mr. Carter? No. Hearing none, I think we will wrap up the, Mr. Carter, you don't have anything else for the board at this time?
Yeah, I'd like to ask you if this meets with your preliminary ideas, could I have permission to go to the state and talk over this entrance? I didn't want to go back to them without, some idea that this seems something like you could live with.
we don't have the ability to grant any decisions in this discussion tonight.
Right.
So I don't, if the state is going to require subdivision approval, I would recommend you wait until after we hold the hearing. But if they don't require subdivision approval, I don't see any reason why you couldn't start.
They said they didn't because it's all one piece until I actually do the subdivision. But I just put that in. I'd like to go talk to them.
Yeah. My only question is if the decision of the board results in the location of the roadway changing, are you going to lose any efforts that you put in with the DOT? But I suppose that's up to you to decide.
Yeah, I don't see what would make much difference. The only big problem, I don't mind moving the road directly across from it, except that it's an 18-foot. Let's see, it's the elevation is 484, and it's a 16-foot drop. And it take me. I'd go into a lot of the area that's wet.
Right.
But if that's what you want, that's what they approved. It's all right by me. I can. Actually, I suppose I could put a 1-to-1 stone slope on it rather than the 3-to-1 slope. It'd be an engineered slope. By the way, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself while I'm on if you can listen to it. I'm a registered civil engineer, a registered land surveyor, and a registered licensed designer of septic systems. And I'm also a builder. I've been doing this for about 30 years. My last one was I had an 85-acre site on Bow Lake, which that picture you saw of the boat ramp. I built that entire site. I put in almost a mile of paved road. I put in a marina, and I did 31 houses. And the lots were back then. The lots were 200,000, and most of the houses were 400,000. They actually considered the area the jewel of Bow Lake. It's one of the best that they've ever had. And the average taxes in there are about $14,000 a unit. And it's all self-contained. It has a homeowner's policy. It costs the town nothing, and they receive about $500,000 a year in income. So I've never done anything shoddy in my life. I try to do the best I can, and I would do the best here.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that's it. And my brother is also a registered engineer and surveyor, and he's part of my association.
Uh-huh.
So we hope we can do business.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. I think, in general, I like the concept of multifamily or the townhouse type construction in that area. It's not that far from other residential properties closer to the Rumney line. And I think in our recent discussions of revising our zoning, we are considering that area of Tenny Mountain Highway to really be kind of a mixed use zone. So I think having some housing, especially if it could be workforce or senior housing to serve, one of those populations, I think it would serve the town well in the long term. So.
Well, I think it will. I think when it's through, you'll be proud of it.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Carter.
Well, thank you for listening to me.
Appreciate your time this evening. All right. Next item on our agenda is administrative matters and correspondence, conditional use permit for accessory dwelling units.
That would be me. This one's rather unique in that it's designed into a new home. Essentially, it will allow about, as shown on the plat, about 642 square feet. Has life safety, meets all the life safety codes. Has the escape window in the bedroom plus the entrance. Essentially, it's like putting a mobile home in your basement. So, some might think that it would be absolutely perfect for a single person or a couple. It's a good way to go. I like seeing this. It's it's not it's not a repurpose and it's not in an accessory structure or freestanding. So, you know, it's not really going to change the landscape at all. You'd have to be the occupant in order to know it was there pretty much. So he met all the criteria. It is owner occupied. The septic design is 3-bedroom. There's 2 bedrooms upstairs, plus the 1 bedroom down below. There are no common areas to be delineated or subtracted. And, you know, with the single family home parking, you know, 2 spaces, well, he's got a garage and the drive, though it wasn't expressed on the plat, I believe will be the parking that's assigned to the ADU will probably be directly in front of the unit.
Okay.
So, you know, I was to make a recommendation, I would say this is a good one.
I'm a little out of sorts for the, do we need to accept this as a application and approve it as a conditional use permit?
Yeah, just after review, there's no call for an actual meeting for this. It's just basically as a conditional use permit.
It's a decision of the board.
Yeah, and you know, he met the criteria. So this is what we were talking about as far as the gateway districts and the rural residential.
Right.
That you know, that if you can meet it, you can have it. You don't have to, you know, beg for it.
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you have the original, Jules?
I think Phil has it.
Oh, okay, good.
Probably here. Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. So, are you able to,
Sorry.
to share, to screen share the
Yeah.
image?
Here's the image.
Okay, so for the board that can see, Steve and Carl, you can see the plan. Bonnie, I'll try to I think Brian already described what we're considering, but it appears to be the half of the basement level of a structure, 40 feet. The center wall dividing it from the garage is 40 feet long, and the entire living unit is in the 14.5-foot structure. 14.5 feet width of the home, and it does look like it's got a bedroom, a closet, a full bath, and then the common area looks like it's got a kitchen and maybe living room combined. So
Yeah, I can see something on the screen, but I can't see it really, really good. 'Cause I'm looking at the
you do have a
TV.
screen. Great. Okay.
Well, I don't have it's on my TV screen,
Okay.
so
Okay.
I can see.
Can you see it now?
There you go.
Can you see it now?
Yeah, I can see it better now.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, all right, thanks.
You know, I do think that, you know, the state's, the accessory dwelling units really do allow affordable housing for the portion of the population that works. And I like that people are using it. So, does any Carl or Steve, do you have questions about the permit? Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, just a clarification. It looks like there's a window into the bedroom and there's one doorway, right? So there's but that's it?
Yes.
One door? Okay.
They share no common spaces other than the foundation.
Okay, but there's another way. There are 2 ways of egress, I guess.
Absolutely. As originally presented, he had it backwards to this, and I told him he couldn't fly because he didn't have an egress window, so he just flip-flopped it.
Great. I like it. I lived in an apartment like this, so it serves an important part of your life. And I may one day I may live in one again.
Presumably the code issues of the separation wall between the garage and the residential spaces.
That's all
will
addressed
be
at my
addressed.
level
Yeah, right.
in the fire department.
Yep, great. Okay. Carl, do you have any questions?
No, I really don't. It looks like it's well thought out.
Yep. I guess at this point, I'd entertain a motion on approval of this.
I'd like to make a motion to approve this.
Thank you, Bonnie.
I'll
Bonnie has-
second.
And Carl has seconded. Is there any further discussion of the motion on the floor? Hearing none. Bonnie, how do you vote?
Aye.
Carl?
Aye.
Steve? And I will vote aye as well. So this is approved by the planning board. I will sign as chair since Rebecca's not here. Today is 9/17/2020. Do we have anything else? Is that it for you? on that then?
For this, yes, it is.
Okay, that's that. All right, thank you.
Phil.
And do you have discussion of proposed changes beyond that?
No,
That was just this?
I think I wasn't quite sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only other administrative business that I have is just the signing of the plats from the boundary line adjustment we took up at the last meeting.
Okay. I can do that with you
After the adjournment. would be
when we
fine.
adjourn if you have time.
If anybody wants to adjourn, I don't know.
No, I don't think, I wonder if we can drag this out into October.
I know, it's only 2 weeks.
Thanks, Phil.
So I would like to recognize that it's come to my attention that Brian will be leaving us and retiring, I suppose.
Yes.
Great. And Steve, did you want to share anything?
I did. I was.
Uh-oh, the roast.
Mhm.
No, you live around the corner. I have to be really kind. No, I think Brian, we all kind of knew that the time was coming, and you were going to take this change and retire. And we're sad to see you go on a number of levels. And I wanted to just mention a few of the things that were highlights for me, and then open it up to any other board members that wanted to share something. But some of the things I've really appreciated about having you in this position and as a staff person from the town is just your level of professionalism and your extreme level of patience with us, which is greatly appreciated. Because sometimes we're really wrestling with these things, and sometimes there's simple clarifications, and you very patiently wait to share that with us, and that wasn't lost on us. And I think your willingness to support us through any process. At first, I was thinking your willingness to support us through the planning process. Well, now also the meeting process. A lot of these processes that all kind of fall on your desk within your job description, which is a pretty broad job description for any one person. So I would just like to wish you the best in retirement, and I feel happy to know that you're still just up the road, and hopefully we'll continue to see you around.
Thank you, Steve.
Would anyone else like to share any sentiments?
Oh, I
Well,
would. This is Bonnie. I would like to. I don't think a lot of people, and I didn't before I got on the planning board. I don't think a lot of people realize, Brian, how much you do. I mean, not only your workday job, but then you've got these meetings at night you have to attend to. I would not want your job for nothing, and I'm so glad that you did it all these years. And we really do appreciate you, and we're going to miss you.
Thank you very much.
We'll
You're
think
welcome.
of you every time the morning glory throws off more flowers.
Thanks, Carl. And I have a couple of words myself. It's been my honor and pleasure to serve this board. It's been a lot of fun. A lot of very serious work has been done at the same time. The board is very accepting of new ideas. They're not hidebound. And I think that only speaks to the quality of the membership and not the support that you got. So carry on, guys. I may be back like a bad penny.
That would be good. We'd love that.
Thank you.
I didn't really get to share my thoughts, Brian.
Oh, I'm sorry to
I
cut
do-
you off,
No,
Madam
that's
Mr.
fine.
Chair.
That's fine. I also, my first experience with you was as the building inspector,
Yes.
and I really appreciated your interaction as when I was new in town and working on our own home. But as I got to know you through the planning board as well, it seems that you've been a great asset to the town, and I'm sure you'll be missed in this role. So I hope that you continue to interact on some levels and look forward to seeing you.
Appreciate that. That's for sure.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any other business they'd like to discuss tonight? Steve?
So I don't want to put Mark on the spot, but a couple of these planning board calls, and Mark has very diligently sat in with us. And I just wanted to check in and see if Mark's considering becoming part of the board, or if we could answer questions from Mark. It looks like we haven't scared Mark away yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Well, actually, before I got on the call, I sent a letter. I guess I would call it a first draft to Rebecca and Brian, but maybe now that I know Brian's leaving, maybe he just deleted it and decided to leave it for the next person. So I'm definitely still interested, and I hope at least my draft is a step in the right direction. Brian, I'm not sure exactly what you were looking for there, but hopefully sometime soon I can be a full member. So.
Okay, I don't recall reading it, Mark.
Well,
but
I probably sent it at about 6:10, Brian. So you
okay.
probably haven't
No.
missed anything. No pressure there.
If you are you still prospecting, or are you about to commit?
Yeah, so I mean, I still have, I guess, a couple questions for you and Rebecca. I don't know what the term is if I do fully commit. So that would be one question that I have. But I am definitely interested in joining, and hope I can be of help to everyone on the board and the community. So
It's typically a 3-year term, is it not? Or is that the Board of Selectmen?
Well, given that it's an appointment by the selectmen, I suspect that you can probably, once you're appointed, I think there is a term, and I suppose the selectmen do have the authority to remove you if you are negligent in your role. But I don't think there's any commitment, Mark. If you choose to leave at any point during your term, you have that ability. So it's kind of an interesting. If this were an elected board and you put yourself on the ballot and were elected and chose to leave in the term, it would be up to the board to appoint a replacement to serve out your term, or at least until the next election. So I'm not sure why that would be different in a board that's appointed by the selectmen.
The only difference with the appointment of the board is the terms are staggered, so we don't lose the quorum at any given year.
Sure.
So I would have to look in to see which particular seat you filled, that was vacant, as far as, and have it work with the time.
Yeah.
sure.
So, it runs anywhere from 1 to 3 years, depending on who, how they vacated the seat. Certainly it's a volunteer board. You can voluntarily excuse yourself, but you're going to have to pay off the rest of the members first. Doing the bylaws, by the way. No, the reason I asked, Mark, was if you are ready to commit, I can present that to the Board of Selectmen at their next meeting.
Yeah, I'm ready to commit, Brian. I guess the reason I sent it to both you and Rebecca, I wasn't
totally
really sure what they wanted to see or read. I kind of, just laid out my interest, and I guess you could say qualifications. That I use that term loosely, but just kind of give anyone who would read it an understanding of who I am and why I'd like to partake.
That's all we need.
I think that's what the selectmen need for a request for appointment, right?
So I'll go ahead and move that forward, Mark.
Okay, perfect.
We don't have an application of any kind,
No, it's just
just a letter.
Letter of interest.
letter of interest.
Okay.
And it would just be on the agenda for the next selectmen meeting.
Yes.
Select board meeting. Thank you, Mark. I look forward to having it. I think we have 2 open seats at the current time, don't we?
I believe so, yes.
So we look forward to your interest and any other member of the public who might like to join us.
Yeah, appreciate it. I mean, I don't know if you guys have any questions for me specifically. I'm happy to answer it, or what my interest might be. But either way, I look forward to getting started, and hopefully someday we get off Zoom.
That's the goal.
There's plenty of space at the table here if you choose to attend in person. Are there any comments from the public? Would the public like to address the board tonight?
Yes, the public would. The public, again, would like to thank Brian Murphy for his service, professional service. Thank you.
18 years
Hmm.
on since the ZBA.
Yes.
Since your ZBA.
Thank you.
appointment.
Having no other business in front of us, I will entertain a motion to adjourn if anyone is so inclined.
I would make a motion to adjourn tonight.
I'll second.
All right, it's 7:31 and motion is non-debatable. All in favor? Carl,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
Bonnie?
Bonnie, thank you.
Bonnie says aye.
Bonnie, thank you for moving to adjourn, and I will say aye as well.
Okay.
Thank you all. Have a
Motion
nice evening.
carries.